نتوظف، خلص فقر وتعتير، رح نرجع سويسرا الشرق ويلا.
Mocking political corruption, yet introducing a very serious topic. The faces behind the video that has gone viral are the young founders of Lebanon's Oil and Gas Initiative, also known as LOGI. Actively using their platform to connect with experts in the field, they are on a mission to raise awareness and ensure the Lebanese benefit from the potential of the industry. Whether it's appealing to the Prime Minister to address serious gaps in petroleum laws, or raising the issues of concern publicly. With the government just signing its first offshore oil and gas exploration, as well as production agreements, there has never been a more timely topic.
We already have a lot of pre-existing environmental problems in Lebanon.
That's very true.
So how do you go forward as LOGI?
The first thing that's going to be affected when we start the very first phase of exploring for oil and gas is the environment. So when we put that in mind, we start looking at what has Lebanon been doing about mitigating this impact. As LOGI, we looked at the laws that existed, we looked at the strategic environmental assessment that is already there, and we did a revision to see what is it that these assessments are telling us, what is it that we need to pay attention to.
What is it that we need to pay attention to?
A lot of things.
Give me a few things.
Okay, I can start easily with all the monumental, all the monuments, all the historical monuments that are on the coast that will be definitely affected at one point by the drilling. Well, this is stated, while this is stated clearly in the strategic environmental assessment, we are yet to see the government put plans towards mitigating this risk. Another one is the tourism on the coasts. When we are going to start drilling, and this is going to happen at the early 2019, well, all the infrastructure that's going to be present or going to be installed at the offshore, block number 9, block number 4, Batroun, Tyre, these are aspects that so far the people are not aware of. We see drilling as a great opportunity, yes it is, but with drilling, with exploration comes great risks.
So how is LOGI driving change in Lebanon?
First of all, we identify that the oil and gas sector, while many people don't see how it would impact them today, they have other things to worry about, is actually one of the most vital and important sectors that might make or break the future of our country.
Right, because it makes a lot of money.
It makes a lot of money, but a lot of risk comes with it. When I talk about the curses, which were the environment, there could be risks of war, there could be economic disasters if it's mismanaged.
We've been through the wars.
And we don't need more of them.
Yeah, we don't need any more.
We don't need more of them. And corruption. And there is corruption already in Lebanon, but this is levels of corruption that we've never seen before. This is grand corruption.
Right, because we're talking potentially billions of dollars,
exactly.
if not more,
exactly.
And there seems to be a history of distrust in terms of citizens towards their government. So how is LOGI organized?
So LOGI has a very unique model that could be applied to any other industry. We realize there's a lot of Lebanese that work in the oil and gas industry around the world that have a lot to offer, a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge. So they could be CEOs of oil companies, they could be lawyers, they could be economists, geologists, you name it.
Right.
And so what we're doing, we're creating a network of all the Lebanese that work in the industry around the world and give them a platform to influence and shape how the industry is being built. And it's really tapping into Lebanese wanting to drive a difference in Lebanon that don't live in Lebanon, expatriates that are not going to quit their jobs and move back here, but are able to make a difference from there. So we're building that platform to empower them.
How are you financed?
We get funding from the Norwegians, from the Germans, from the Dutch, and we aim to have funding that is not restricted. In other words, we do not cater to the funders' needs. We have our own strategy, we have our own pillars that we set, and then we go ahead and seek funding to tailor our needs.
The Dutch were interested in increasing transparency in Lebanon in general, and so we approached them to do a project on how to improve transparency in the oil and gas sector. A German foundation that we approached are interested in environmental stewardness and preservation. So we put a plan for a full year and we detail every single activity and every single dime where it's going to go, and we get assessed on and held accountable on literally every cent that gets spent.
Transparency is a key thing for LOGI, especially when it comes to how we're going to proceed. Right, walk the walk, talk the talk, like you just said. So how do you think, and I think citizen engagement, transparency and citizen engagement are key. How do we make sure and ensure that politicians eventually are transparent about this?
First of all, we want to start with one basic understanding. Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah, this is where we start. And the more information you put out there among the people, the more empowerment you allow them, the more you channel this power. So let's just park the politicians for a second on the side, okay? Let's focus on the real owners of this natural resource. It's the people. What does LOGI want to do? It wants to give this knowledge to a disengaged citizen and allow this knowledge to turn him into an engaged person.
I'm with you, and I understand LOGI wants to do that. But I think to myself, look at electricity, look at the problems that we have in this country that seem to be monopolized, and where the resources end up in the pockets of
but why does that happen?
Few.
It's lack of information.
Right. So I know that you hired international and local lawyers to review the oil and gas laws passed in Lebanon that met general laws, apparently, right?
But while we said that they do generally, our laws are generally good, there are places where corruption can seep in. There are loopholes that need to be mitigated if we are going to have a better legal framework, and this is what we keep on insisting on. So, and we did point them out in 10 policy recommendations.
You were able to reach out to government
and some political parties.
And some political parties, and actually get them to re-edit, I believe, practices when it came to
the environmental.
And they said that they would.
The strategic environmental assessment,
so
absolutely.
How did you get them to do that?
It was very simple. We started with what was available. So what was available was the strategic environmental assessment. It's 800 pages, 8 volumes of technical information that people needed to LOGI aimed at, or we aimed at vulgarizing so people can understand.
We're making a big effort to be thoughtful on how we drive change, right? So in that particular case, we realized that something needed to be fixed. Instead of taking to the streets and taking to social media and say, this is bad, we actually went to the government and
shared the report.
What we worked on actually was saying, we try to break the monopoly of the decision making within the government. Instead of the Ministry of Energy or a certain party making all the decisions, we involved other ministries that in theory are supposed to have a say in this. And we empowered them with the knowledge, and we trained them. We said, this is what's good and what's been done, this is what needs to be improved. And on their own, they actually came back to us and said, you know what, this needs to be redone. We're gonna do this. And we followed up over the past 3-4 months until we got the confirmation a couple days ago.
Which is surprising when you think about it, because you would think that they're set in their ways, and the ways may be a little antiquated, but it's very hard to drive change in Lebanon.
Because we're not critiquing.
We're not critiquing, exactly. And this is where you position
You're meeting
yourself.
them on the same level, and you're saying, let me help
it's
you.
All about how
as
you
opposed
frame
to like,
your
you're
request.
wrong, and you shouldn't be doing this.
And this is what we did. That was the beauty of the report. We said, this is what was good, this is how you would redo it. We actually helped them redo this analysis. Now, what we need to be doing now, going forward, is to keep monitoring how this is going to evolve.
When you think about 2018, going into March, April, May, the elections, what do you think the challenges are going to be?
For us, it's very clear. I see one very big challenge in 2018 that we're going to face at the very beginning. It is the current laws, the draft laws that are in the pipeline that are currently being studied. And we're talking about laws that will basically determine what is it that we're going to do with the revenues coming from the finite wealth that we have, the oil and gas wealth, if we do happen to have it. I'm talking about the sovereign wealth law, I'm talking about the national oil company, I'm talking about the onshore law, I'm talking about the petroleum asset law. So definitely to us, one thing that worries me is that we move on in this sector without any form of public consultation. Because this is
and you're planning, so LOGI's participation in this or involvement in this is to kind of bring outside experts that will pitch laws or that will
everybody together. So what we're trying to be is the chief orchestrator of the oil and gas industry, right? We really want to facilitate the debate between all the different stakeholders, whether they are the government, the political parties, the oil companies, civil society, media, international organizations. We really want to, facilitate that conversation and that debate, because nobody can do it on their own. Nobody can build, implement, and monitor the sector on their own.
So how do you win the hearts and minds of citizens?
And that's, I think, one of our biggest challenges. You know,
How do you get them interested in oil and gas? Because
Exactly.
you say oil and gas and you think, my God, I don't want to hear about the laws and the technical stuff. So how do you do it?
no, it's a big challenge, right? And obviously, we didn't crack it yet. But you know, the thing is, citizens have other, like most people have other worries on a day-to-day basis. Why do they have to care about oil and gas as a technical, a boring topic? And it's our challenge and that we're taking is how do we make them realize that this is actually going to impact their life and their jobs, even if they're not engineers and they're not going to work in the oil and gas industry? Why does this matter to them? And you know, people need to realize.
Absolutely, but George, I need to add here that, you know, the Lebanese citizen, the average Lebanese citizen, whether he's living here or abroad, they want a better life, a better future. And this is what LOGI is trying to do, establish that there is a direct link between what we have, whether it's onshore, offshore, our natural resources, and the possibility that it's going to affect and make a better life for people. They need to understand that they have a chance to enhance this if they do it right. And that's what it's all about.
And George is an example of that because you
Yeah.
live in the United States, but you decided to take on this project and start this project because it mattered to you personally for the future of Lebanon.
Because I see, it's crystal clear in my mind that if this goes wrong, that the future of our country is doomed. And I will not have a chance to move back. Honestly,
Yeah.
we have so many problems here in Lebanon. If this sector particularly is mismanaged, it's going to add to all the problems we already have, to the point I say it's the drop of oil that's going to break my country's back. And I'm convinced by it. And I tell you one thing, like, the only way to make sure that this is going to be a positive thing for our country is if we do win the hearts and minds of citizens and they are engaged in monitoring it, we're not going to fix it. Our job is to empower citizens and they have to do something about it. And we can't do more than that.
You can't do it without them.
People
absolutely
need to
not.
take the responsibility. They need to take the responsibility and shape the future of this country, whether it's oil and gas or something else. And our job is to empower them, to inspire them, to arm them with the right information, you know? So that's
And give them the right tools to move forward. What's the craziest thing you've ever done in your life?
Start LOGI because it's a pain in the butt, I have to say. I love it, but I never realized how hard it was going to be, honestly.
What's your favorite activity to do locally and why?
Play tennis.
What's your favorite activity to do locally and why?
Just walk along the beach, and it's my favorite activity. I am in love with a country called Lebanon, and I'm not joking. To me, it's perfect.
What would you like to accomplish in your job this year?
This year, make sure that a lot of people are talking about LOGI, about accomplishments, about oil and gas.
What do you want to accomplish this year in your job?
I want to make sure that our country doesn't make strategic mistakes when it comes to building the oil and gas industry that are irreversible.
When you think of the behavior of your coworker, what behavior tends to drive you craziest?
He doesn't sleep, and he tends to answer emails the whole time or send emails. This drives me crazy sometimes, and I consider myself a workaholic. Nothing compared to George.
When you think of the behavior of your coworker, what behavior tends to drive you the craziest?
I just love her. I tell you something, I love her so much. It's hard
So close to Valentine's Day.
No, exactly.
All this love.
I love her so much, it's hard to have a working relationship.
How would he describe you in 3 words if he were to describe you?
Crazy. I always bite off more than I can chew, and I'm all over the place.
I know, she's passionate. She has a gigantic heart. She really does. And you know what I tell her? You know, LOGI is not a job. It's a mission, right? We're trying to make a difference, and it should be, you know, she should enjoy it. Like, it's a positive thing that we're bringing to the country, and no one has a bigger heart than Diana, and we're so lucky to have her.
How would she describe you in 3 words?
I hope persistent.
You're a visionary. You have
I
vision.
wouldn't say it about myself,
Yeah.
but
Well, I can easily say that about you. You're a motivator.
thank you.
Yeah, you're a catalyst at
Thank you.
least.
And I think,
You want to answer all his questions?
Yes.
yeah, and definitely, no doubt about it, a big pain in the butt.
No.
I would say that.
It is these future leaders whose team spirit is based on mutual respect, a sense of urgency, a touch of idealism, and a vital faith in a nation that will bring on change and hopefully open the door for others to come in. If you like this episode of Why Chats and want to see more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click, click, click.